Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Salute to Industry. This is a very special program that I wanted to highlight and bring to light. I don't even know how we tripped across you, to tell you the truth. You just kind of came into my inbox one day. I'm like, well, let's talk to these guys. This is a very interesting organization, and I want to get the word out about what you guys do. So essentially, I have, I'll leave it for Mark here. Here's Mark Holman. He is the VP of Corporate Social Responsibility with Resilience Building Leader Program, the RBLP. So, Mark, let's tee it up for you. Tell us about the program and how it got started and where it is today.
Yeah, no, hey, great, Don. I appreciate the invite and I appreciate being on. The Resilience Building Leader Program. First of all, we are the credentialing body for the Resilience Building Leadership Professional certifications, and there are 3 certifications. And this actually, we provide and offer this leadership certification centered around resilience, the ability to overcome adversity, and more importantly, to adapt and grow as that adversity occurs, right? And you find that teams that are resilient and communicative, and they can actually easily adapt to change within their organization, that these are more and they can scale to efficiencies. This certification builds on that. And it's a collaborative, actual social phenomenon when you think about it, that organizations where people can actually rely on each other to accomplish, complex workflows, projects, deadlines, right? Where we come from, those folks in your audience and others who have served in the military, collective resilience is something we figured out in about 48 hours when we stepped off the bus at either basic training or at OCS, right?
Right. Those little yellow footprints, right?
There you go. We figured out very quickly, Don, that if we weren't going to make it through this by ourselves, if we didn't depend on each other on the right and left and learn to work as a team, we probably weren't going to see the end zone.
Everybody gets it at some point.
Right? Absolutely.
It takes some of us longer than others, but yes, that point is driven home.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. And this program was created by our CEO and founder, Dr. Gene Coughlin. And Dr. Gene Coughlin, he created this organization and this company and this certification based on his dissertation for his PhD. So while he was going into his research for his dissertation, he started looking around for things about resilience, and he looked into individual resilience. And there's a lot of organizations and military branches who provide individual resilience training, which is very important because you yourself need to have resilience. And he found the only information and research on file was done on children. So then he started digging into collective resilience, and the only source he could find of any type of research done on collective resilience with teams was after 9/11. So what he knew, he was at a crossroads because he did 20 years in the Marine Corps. And just to let you know, Dr. Gene and I, we've known each other for 35 years. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So we go way back. And I did 28 years in the Marine Corps. And again, that's hardwired. Yeah. Raw. And that is hardwired in our DNA, as I said. But what he realized was he could go get another job at another Fortune 200 company, or he could invest in this, create this organization, this company, and provide a certification that focused on building collectively resilient teams. Because in the end, we saw this in our careers. You might have only 4 in your squad, but when you work together, 4 starts kind of operating and producing like 4.5 or 5 people. and so he said, there is content here that folks need to know and they need to learn. And I think this certification, this quantifiable measurement, which is what every certification is, it's a quantifiable measure of your education, experience, knowledge, background into a certification that says you are a certified resilience building leadership professional ready to build collectively resilient teams. And so that's how it got started, and we've been moving forward ever since. That was 2018, so we're starting our 3rd year.
That's great. And before we dive into the details about the coursework and such, tell us a little bit about, okay, I'm a job seeker out there, or I'm going to get ready to transition out, or I'm a Guard member. What does this do for me exactly? Say if I put it on my resume, I mean, obviously we'll let you talk about the intrinsic value there, but tell us a little bit about the value to somebody out there.
Yeah, I think, we all know that many employers, particularly, are interested in professional certifications that you have, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And when you come to that, it's funny because adding RBLP to a certification, whether it be your LinkedIn profile, your resume, it makes you more competitive in the eyes of employers. And the reason that is because it shows that you have demonstrated and that you successfully completed coursework, leadership development, specifically in the area that's applicable to virtually any business in the industry, on how to build resilient teams and what that looks like. And it's not just theory, it's actually application of it. And that certification tells them you're ready to build collectively resilient teams in a changing environment. Because every organization you apply to, I promise you, organizational change is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and it's going to happen. And when you have collectively resilient teams, they persevere through that change and they successfully grow as a result of that adversity they went through. And that's an ongoing thing. I would say this, Don. Here's the other part that I've realized. When I transitioned, I retired in 2010. Okay. And I will tell you that
what a tough time to come out, right? Like, you picked a good one.
Yay, me. But talk about resilience, right?
Right.
So one of the things that I realized is it was a very eye-opening experience. And when I went in and I applied at a bunch of different places, and I had my resume and, of course, my education and my background and all this. And one of the things that they would ask me is, they would notice that on my resume I was former military, and they would ask me questions like, well, what is your approach to team dynamics and building teams? And and of course, I would say, well, I know what I know. And so I would explain to them, and many veterans go through this. Well, let me tell you what, I get my team, we run an exercise or a project, and we go through it. And when we're all done, first thing we do is we get back in the rear with the gear, we do a hot wash, and then we knock out an AAR, and then we figure out what can get better. And they look at you with all that jargon you just threw at them.
Yeah.
And I've always seen that, and I love them to death. They mean it when they say it. They nod their head politely and they go, first of all, thank you so much for your service.
Right.
I really appreciate that.
The canned response.
Right. but we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
and now the way the process works is the HR partner goes to the hiring manager who posted the position, who has to have a short list, and they get a brief. And the HR person, who's never served a day in the military, says, well, hey, Sally or Bob, here's the list. This guy, Mark, he seems very motivated. I mean, I didn't really understand a lot of what he was saying. It was a lot of that jargon stuff. But, he seems motivated. But if you can go in and going through this course takes what you know, and it puts us in the terms of academia, the civilian translation, if you will, and you can actually say to somebody, well, I build teams by, first of all, analyzing team learning. We use the experiential learning model, and obviously an experience will happen. We'll do reflective observation. Then I will make a decision as a leader as to what we need to change or adjust based on the team's input. And then we'll go to active experimentation, and we'll run this exercise again, and we'll see how we can make it better. And then we'll run that cycle until we get to the level we need to perform. All those things like experiential learning, they understand that. That was in their, grad degree.
That's their speak, right?
Right. And they go in and say, this is the person we need.
This is the guy.
This is the guy.
What he said. We want more of that.
Right. So that helps as well. And I think that's a huge benefit, especially being a transitioning back in 2010, a transitioning, service member, retiring, transitioning, whatever case you're in, and being able to have this certification and speak to this term and connect with people as well.
Well, and let's emphasize this a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The world, let's say in the past decade, really pushed, and even in my generation through the 90s and early 2000s, the push was get a degree, people who have a degree, Not so much weight on that these days, unless it's very specific and utilized for a specific industry or
right.
Career path. Obviously, it's going to come in handy, and I'm not saying don't go get a degree, but certifications has really been bubbling up in the last few years, and as more valuable as people start stacking these certifications. It's really the packaging, the soft skills around you to couple with a degree, which makes you more competitive in the marketplace, like you were saying. And this, as this recording for those in the audience, today is January 29th, 2021. We're still coming out of COVID. I mean,
Right.
Tens of thousands of small businesses are not going to be around this year. That's the reality. They're not coming back. You still have 20 million people out of work, out of employment. It's going to get hyper competitive, as this marketplace starts ramping, as we're ramping back up. I mean, money's going to be pumping into the economy again. The engine's going to be running hot pretty soon. And there's a lot of opportunity, but these things are going to differentiate you in the marketplace. That's absolutely right. But Mark, this is a great time for us to segue into the courses themselves.
Yeah.
If I'll just tee that up for you. Let's jump into what the coursework is. Actually, can we start here?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, there's 3 levels of certification. So the first level is the RBLP, or the Resilience Building Leadership Professional. Those are focused at frontline supervisors. And there are 3 sessions that you go through. And the first one is about creating a positive climate. So as a leader, how do you go about doing that with your team? What are the ingredients you need to create a positive climate? Because as you can probably attest to, if it feels like you're putting on a helmet with a candle on the front and going into a salt mine every day, you're probably not going to be that excited after a while if it's not a positive climate, right? Then the second session goes into developing cohesion. How do we develop cohesion among our team members, get them out of silos, have them working together to solve problems and work through issues. And then the third session talks about providing purpose. It is so funny that Forbes publishes the top 10 reasons people leave organizations every year. And what's funny about that to me is that I've always looked at that, and all the years I've looked at it, I don't make enough money made it into the top 10 3 times that I can count, and they were always number 10. All the other things above that were things that leaders control, right? Like, I don't understand my purpose here. I don't really have any investment in learning. I really don't know where we're going. I don't trust my boss. Basic things like that,
yes.
that we can fix, and it makes a huge impact. And so those are the first 3 sessions for somebody earning an RBLP. Now, the second level is the Resilience Building Leadership Professional Coach, which is focused at middle managers. They would get all 3 of those first sessions we just mentioned. Okay. So that's a part of the building block process, if you will. And then they move into what's called facilitating team learning. And that is 4 leader tasks that get into analyzing team learning capacity. So we talk about, how do you get your team to learn? How do you share ideas? We talk about orient on team goals, knowing that teams need to have a goal. How do they develop a collective efficacy amongst themselves? And then the third leader task that you would go through would be encourage constructive dialogue. And that's about, as a leader, how do you set the stage for active listening? Are you an active listener? Are you creating a psychologically safe environment? Do people feel comfortable advocating? Are you pulling out tacit knowledge they bring from other locations and organizations they've been at? Or is it a shut up and color organization you've created and you can't figure out why they don't want to speak up? Okay. And I've seen both sides of it in my civilian career. Okay. And it's amazing. And the fourth leader task is build new mental models. All teams, everybody comes with a mental model. We're all equipped with one. We're born with one.
Oh, yeah.
But as a team, we have to develop a shared mental model.
That's right.
And then, you're going to find yourself changing those mental models. And we talk and get into about single loop and double loop learning and what that looks like as a leader, and how do you set your team up for success with that. Okay. The last one, Don, certification, is what's called the Resilience Building Leadership Professional Trainer. And those are focused at senior leaders. And again, there's 4 leader tasks you go through. So again, everything I've just mentioned, you would be getting as well. And then you get into the senior leader area, which is the first leader task, talks about analyzing organizational learning. Without organizational learning, organizational change is impossible to achieve. If you're not learning as an organization and change comes, good luck. I mean, good luck on that. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, the world's dynamic. Everything's not going to stay in a cookie cutter box here. That's right.
Amen. And then you move on to promote a shared vision. You need to have a vision. You need to have a strategy as an organization, and your culture needs to dictate that vision. And it has to have a strategy on how we're going to get there. We should celebrate milestones, foster knowledge emergence. You want to have a mechanism where this knowledge can emerge that people have, and sharing of it. That could be communities of practice. That could be knowledge networks. And then we talk about ensure knowledge diffusion. How does it get out? Some folks are right now with COVID, it's not like you're coming to an office every day, right? So how do you diffuse that learning knowledge across the organization in this environment? What does that look like as a leader? And that's important for senior leaders in organizations because they're responsible for that culture that ultimately will affect that climate of teams. So those are the 3 certifications, and that's a little background, a little bit on each one.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mark. Let's dive into walk us through the process. So, what kind of commitment am I putting into this? Obviously, okay, I want to take the courses.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of time frame are these spread across? Are they self-paced? Are they guided? As a guided coursework? Can you talk us through that?
Yeah. So once folks apply, they apply on our site. We review the application. We give them a response, letting them know what level of certification based on the information they provided in their application dictates this is the certification level you've qualified for. We then ask them to order that exam prep training on our site. They then are assigned a certification instructor who will work with them one-on-one. And that certification instructor will connect with them and schedule the best day of the week, times that work for them. So what you would do is you would go through the first session you're assigned. You would read through all the material. We have TED Talks involved in the lessons as well that you would watch to connect to the concepts. There's some reflection questions. You would capture that information. And then you would meet with your certification instructor, generally on the average once a week for 1 hour to review that lesson you went through. So the online to go through the material, it probably takes, depending on the person, everybody's different. It can take anywhere from 1.5 hours to 3 hours, depending on how much detail and research you get into digging into the information. But on the average, it's about 2 hours. You go through the lesson, make some good notes, and be prepared to have a good leadership discussion through the curriculum with your instructor. Some folks like doing it once a week, Don. I've seen some folks who said, hey, I've got some bandwidth right now. Could we do 2 sessions a week? Right. Sure. We're flexible, but you work that out with your instructor. It's not mandated that you will do X. I've even had some people, quite frankly, who were so busy, they said, hey, I love these lessons. I'm really excited, but could we do a session every 2 weeks? Yeah. And then depending on how many sessions you have, whether you're a P, C, or T, right, 3, 5, or 7, you can kind of figure that if you do 1 a week, 7, 8 weeks, you're done and you're ready to go take your exam.
Great. Let's talk now about who's eligible for this, and then we'll dive into the Giving Back program. You can talk to us about that, please.
Basically, anyone who is a frontline supervisor, middle manager, or senior leader. One of the things we ask for on our site, under our requirements section on our site, it says even if you have a high school diploma and you are a frontline supervisor, we ask that you have at least 5 years of leadership, of leadership billets. And it's great because I want to stress that when you fill out your application, it asks you for how many years of direct and indirect leadership you have. And you can probably appeal to this comment I'm going to make, Don. You know how sometimes when you're the 2 IC, the second in charge,
yeah,
so sometimes you're leading more than the IC does.
So, I often got that, yes, when I was a Lance Corporal back in my day, yes.
Right. So that's why we asked that question, because we know that is true leadership. You had to engage with people. You had to achieve an objective. So anyway, you get that done. And then at which time this can apply to anybody in those levels. Now, depending on the program. For example, we have for folks on active duty in the military and those in the Guard, they have what's called a Credentialing Opportunities Online program, a COOL program as they call it, right? And what that is funds that each branch of the military sets aside for professional certifications each and every fiscal year, okay? And whether we have certified people in every branch of the armed forces. Okay,
that's great.
And they really have enjoyed, and the feedback we've gotten is this is awesome. So that's afforded to them. Obviously, there are government employees. We have just certified some folks, working with some folks from FEMA and from the Governmental National Labs for the U.S. government. They funded their professional certifications. We also do the not just the for-profit, the government, but there are professional organizations in Fortune 500 or other, whether it's small, medium, or large businesses, that some companies will fund your professional certifications as well. Currently, right now, we just partnered a little bit ago with the Texas Workforce Commission in Texas,
Great.
where they are actually funding our certification under the Texas Workforce Commission funds for frontline and middle managers in small and medium-sized businesses in the state of Texas. And that's been really awesome for a lot of organizations, getting this type of certification and training for their folks. And then, of course, we have nonprofits, and that gets into our giving back program that, if you like, we can talk about that now, or would you like to dig into that?
Yeah, let's pivot into that. So for just a quick recap for the audience members listening, this is at no cost. So these leadership certification pieces are at no cost to active duty service members and guardsmen right now. Reservists as well?
Yeah, I think each branch has some requirements, right? So normally a reservist needs to be on orders for at least 6 months, 180 days or more.
Okay.
And that's the way they write it in their requirements. But again, they need to go to their actual cool site for their branch and look at the requirements, because each service is a little different with that.
Right. And we'll get the contact information, down here shortly. But let's pivot into the RBLP Giving Back program and talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we talk about at RBLP is kind of based on our core values, right? So our core values at RBLP is RBLP Giving Back program to nonprofits is one of those, right? So we believe that at RBLP that we want to take care of our clients first, take care of our clients always, take care of our employees, always. We want to make sure that we are giving back to our community, and we learn every day. Well, giving back is not just a cool idea here at RBLP. We genuinely mean that, right? And when I say that, calendar year 2020, we committed $100,000 of free exam prep training and certification exams for select nonprofits in the United States.
Great.
This year in 2021, and I can tell you, Dr. Gene, he and I, we're on the same page with this. We feel that everything that we have been afforded in life, everybody has a responsibility to give back in some way, whether Absolutely. It's large or small. This is what we can do, right, at RBLP, because, very often in nonprofits, every grant or donation dollar you get goes back to help the people for which you were created.
It's force multiplier, right?
Absolutely. So when you think about a nonprofit who's getting donations and grants, and they're helping a lot of people in their communities, right? If you look at their finances, they don't have a training budget, and if they do have a training budget, it's very, very small, and that's to meet the requirements of a 501c3 that your folks need to be trained on, right? As a requirement. But the extra stuff like leadership development, a professional certification, there's no way, right? I mean, you can't, unless you're going to take away from people who are in need. And so what we do in calendar year 2021, we have dedicated $200,000.
Wow, you doubled down.
Yep. We decided to double down this year, and we're going to donate that amount in free exam prep training with a certification instructor, a coach, one-on-one, and the actual certification exam itself.
Outstanding.
And we've partnered with quite a few in 2020. Matter of fact, before you and I earlier today, I met with another nonprofit. I had one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, and we are delighted to partner with them because they really appreciate it. They enjoy it, and it helps their team build collectively resilient leaders. And in a nonprofit, that is real important.
Well, that's the driving force, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I think it's tremendous of you and your leadership to do so, and I'm glad that you guys are expanding. That's how we've actually been introduced. I believe you're talking with our team here at VetJobs, and looking forward to getting involved with the organization and the coursework myself. And I'd love that you came on the video today. And let's do a quick recap about everything, Mark. I know we touched about a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. Let's just do a quick recap for everybody. So the coursework itself is available to active duty service members, guardsmen as well. Select reservists, it has to meet certain criteria, but they can go to the website to check that out themselves. Please give us that website as well, and I'll put it up here on the banner. Where can people go to access and apply?
For our site to apply for the Resilience Building Leader Program?
Yes.
Okay. So you can go, and this is a mouthful again, Don, we talked about it. It's Resilience Building leader.com.
Would help you out there. And for those listening, we'll drop it in the content section as well when we post the video. So I've got it right below, resiliencebuildingleader.com. It's the tongue twister. And here we are sitting with Mark Holman, Marine veteran, fellow Marine brethren. We appreciate your time today. And with that said, is there any parting words? I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I would just one thing is that if folks have a problem finding us, here's what I always tell folks. Here's the easy path. You ready? If you're not sure, go to Google and type into the search engine RBLP, hit enter, and the whole first page of Google will be our link.
Google symbol RBLP. It's like a stock ticker. Right
there you
here.
go. There you go.
You can't miss it. There's a lot of great content out there. I think this is highly valuable. I look forward to getting this out in the community and bringing more awareness to what you guys are doing. Mark, hats off to you and your team for the Giving Back program. And we look forward to promoting you guys and seeing you grow in 2021. Right on. Thank you, Mark, for your time today.
Thanks so much, Don. I really appreciate it. Great being here.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Salute to Industry.
Absolutely. And to register for services and learn more about other employment opportunities, visit us on the web at vetjobs.org/jobs for veterans. Take care, everybody.